Hey,
Hey, Philip, how's it going?
good. Sorry, I'm a little bit late.
No, you're all good. Yeah, I was actually waiting on another Philip to join as well. Well, Philip from like the Styro side of things.
I see.
But yeah, where are you calling in from?
Japan.
Japan. Wow, so it's late.
Yeah, it is, but I was doing a whole bunch of stuff just now and had a demonstration, so was just I
Cool.
figured I'll
So,
check this out since I'm all new in this area.
nice. What are you working on then?
Currently I'm doing a migration from Terraform Cloud to Spacelift, and part of that was the whole writing of Rego policies in order to um basically, yeah, control our workflows and whatnot. So
Okay, awesome.
learning Rego a lot lately.
Sounds good. All right, yeah, this office hours a little light. So here, let me share my screen real quick. So so this is the last release we had, 0.4. We had a couple security fixes. I'll talk about these in a bit. One was inside of OPA itself with our function mocking. The next item on here is optimization for set elements. This is essentially we optimized our object elements when growing to large sizes, anything over 150,000 keys or something. And so we did that same optimization process for our sets. And then more performance increases for our union built in. And then I have an example here for we have a new built-in function, pretty simple, matching on strings. And then just a lot of small stuff that went into this last release. And then yeah, so let's take a quick look. I'm gonna see if Philip's going to join to talk about this. In the meantime, I will cover this. All right, so with our new any prefix match and any suffix match built-in, we have I have a couple examples here. Right. Oops, what is this? Token. What am I missing here? Something is there. It is. Okay, cool. Yeah, so with the any prefix match, any suffix match, this first one's very simple. We have this object here for no matches, and obviously no matches. We have a not in front of it, making these two rules true. And so then we go down. Let's match on basically all prefixes. So if we're looking at these prefixes, this, that, and other, with the array this string, that word, other string, right? We can now match on all. We want to do 1 or 2. Also works. It doesn't need to be a set or an array on the input. You could just specify a string, or you can create a new array. And so same things. And then we're going to switch down here to a set. Since JSON won't let you define a set, I'm going to create a set with a comprehension rule right here. Pretty simple. I'm just taking that input array and I'm feeding it into this set. And so with that set specified, we're just going to match on all of the suffixes here, string and word. And remember, this is the array we're working with. This string, that word, other string. So yeah, now we can see that the set appears because we have it defined here, and then our suffixes match. And our last examples here, same as the prefixes, having 1 input or 2 inputs for the suffix matching. Oh, there we go. And cool. So that was the new built-in feature that came out.
That was 0.4.
This was 0.4, yeah. So this was about 2 weeks ago, I think. 13 days, yeah. So we should have 0.45 out in about 2 weeks, and then we'll talk about that in the office hours following that release. Cool, and I think we had one more person join. I heard a ding. Oh, hey, other Philip's here.
2 Philips in one meeting. I've never happened.
Yeah. It is a rarity.
If you were David, it would happen all the time, but I never have a conflict at all. Nice to meet you.
Indeed.
Cool. Yeah. So Philip Hadvinger is calling in from Japan. So late night for him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm really interested in this project. I mean, it started, but I mean, obviously, I'm only touching the surface of it with the spacelift stuff that we're doing, but
Mm-hmm.
and Rigo, it seems like a really interesting project. I've only heard about it like maybe a month or two ago, and some DevOps meetings online. Some people mentioned Open Policy Agent, and started looking into it as we were doing the spacelift stuff. But it's a really interesting set of tools so far.
Cool. And with Spacelift, is everything written in Rego, or is it just like one subset of their tool is a Rego implemented tool?
All the policies. So basically, you have a bunch of policies that you can control various things inside the product with, and yeah, all of that is Rego.
Okay.
Otherwise, you don't really have to code when you're using the product. I mean, unless you're writing Terraform for provisioning things, but yeah, outside of that, there's not really any coding. The Rego is the only one. It definitely has a lot. It throws you for a loop when you first start with it, but it's starting to grow on me.
Yeah, there definitely is a learning curve. I feel like I've just gotten over like the hump of like, all right, I finally get how to write some Rego. Cool. And
when did this all
then
start? Like how many years ago did you guys start this? Or
well, I was not around when that happened, but that was the founders made it in 2016. I think like,
oh wow,
it might have even been like the beginning of the year, like January 2016. Yeah. So it's been around a while. I think I think most of the popularity happened in like 2018. I think they went to KubeCon and donated the project, and then that's when they started seeing adoption ramp up. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd really like to dig into it more for all the other things that this does besides just Rego.
Yes. All right, cool. And so so Philip Conrad, do you want to talk about these CVEs?
Oh yeah. So the 3 CVEs, one was in Rego itself, and the other 2 were in the Golang tooling. So we'll start with the ones in the Golang tooling. One of the CVEs was in net/HTTP, and that one was a denial of service attack that was possible. Yeah, I see you've got the GitHub advisory database pulled up as well. Yeah, just a thing that could cause an HTTP connection to hang. We changed that by just upgrading our base Golang versions that we build with. Same thing for the join path related CVE that was also a Golang CVE. But the one that was our CVE was discovered by some Styra employees over a lovely Labor Day weekend. And they went and like made a patch almost immediately because they were like, oh shoot, this shouldn't be possible. This one was a little bit wilder. Basically, it was a way where we have a list of what we call unsafe functions that you don't want them to be run in every context. And it's nice to be able to turn them off using the capability system and stuff. So normally in the Open Policy Agent, there are layers of checks to try and prevent built-ins from being runnable if they're not supposed to be run in a certain context. This was an incident where the unsafe built-ins check wasn't happening correctly. And it meant that if you wrote your code in a really very particular way, you could smuggle built-in calls in that you weren't supposed to be able to do. So that was a very quick, oh nuts, we're surprised that this was possible and we need to patch that immediately kind of thing. So that was that was part of the, arguably the most important part of the 0.43.1 release. And then the 0.44 release 2 weeks ago immediately followed the patch release and got the same fixes. Yeah, that was a wild one. But yeah, so
Cool. Thanks for explaining that. And so with the unsafe built-ins, is that just like a predefined list, or is that something that is configurable on the user end?
it is a predefined list, and if you were doing custom built-ins, writing it, in Golang, you would just add your built-in to the list because you've already got the source code handy at that point. I think it is like a config option that you can actually just flip on and off unsafe built-ins. I don't remember. We have a couple different ways of turning on and off the switches. But yeah, normally you would restrict things with the capabilities system. I think the unsafe built-ins was an older stab in that general direction. We have a couple different categories of built-ins that we have to keep track of because there are certain contexts where that really matters. But for things like the Rego playground, for example, we don't want people to be able to make random HTTP requests, right?
Right.
So the unsafe built-ins list is very important for applications like that.
Wait, so HTTP send is supposed to just be blocked entirely in the playground?
It should be, if I remember correctly, it should be blocked, or it should be one where it just gives you a like undefined or a default value.
Gotcha.
Ideally it would be very difficult to sanitize the URLs in a reliable way, right? So
that's what I would imagine. Yeah.
Would it be
that
possible
one,
to have well, I don't know if that actually makes sense, but would it be possible to pull it from that data block that you guys have in the playground or something like that? Like have,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that actually makes sense in the data block, but maybe something along those lines, right? Like where you could just give it a mock.
Yeah, so there is a way to do mocking in OPA for functions, and that might have been part of what played into this. But I personally have not used the mocking feature very much, so I can't really speak to it.
Yeah, I used it a bunch when we were writing the CloudFormation integration, like writing the test suite for it, but haven't touched it much since then.
Yeah, I haven't touched on testing, unfortunately, yet at all, but I definitely need it because we already have people checking in things that aren't working.
Oh no.
Yeah, so
every rule needs a unit test.
Yeah.
But every project should have some tests.
Yeah.
Of any sort.
All right, cool. So that was the agenda for this week. Pretty short. On the roadmap, these things will come out in a future version, maybe 4.5. It may be a later version, but these are the next things to come up. We have decision replay, basically being able to get more information out of the decision replays, like if you have JWT tokens or other data that you want to see that input that was used, being able to see that with the replays. Then we have proof indexer support. I think it just has a couple expressions or a couple data types that it works with now, and so we're going to add more data types to it.
Right. The indexer right now is limited to mostly constant expressions. And the idea is, well, wouldn't it be nice if we could have a wider range of common expressions get picked up by the indexer? There might be some work with OPA has a concept of references, like where one thing is a ref to something else. And so punching through the refs, if it's like a ref to a constant, for example, is something that the indexer isn't horribly smart about right now. And we'd like it to be a lot smarter about that. So that'll probably involve one of the OPA core team members sitting down for a day or two and thinking really hard and modifying how the AST works a little bit.
So very high level overview of the indexer. So the indexer basically takes the policy that's being evaluated and just saves a bunch of the values so that it can quickly reference them, right? And that's the like general idea of the indexer.
Say again, Peter? Was that a question or?
Yeah, that's a question for you.
So the indexer, as I understand it, is basically if you go through the Styra Academy courses, they talk about early termination for rules, right? Where we bail out on the first successful eval of a rule. Because effectively, like every time a rule fails, it just goes to the next definition for that rule, kind of like a bunch of chained like or logical expressions. So as part of early termination and like optimizing that, the indexer basically looks to see like, are there conditions in these rules that are mutually exclusive, right? If you have like, if HTTP method equals get, and then you have a separate rule, if HTTP method equals post, and another one for put, right? These rules would be mutually exclusive. And so you could immediately jump to the correct rule and just fail the others if you know that like that one incoming variable is set to, you know, one of those three values. If it's set to none of them, you can terminate early and just fail all the rules. And so the indexer is basically just a system. I need to actually go in and read the source code for it because I suspect that one follows after a lot of the stuff that I've looked at. The compiler is where we bury a lot of our skeletons in the code base. And so there's somewhere in the evaluator, we actually do the index lookups, but how it is built and when it gets pulled into the eval process, I haven't actually looked at yet. I haven't needed to interact with it, but that's my understanding of what it does. Where it is in the code base, who knows? You'd have to ask probably like Stefan or maybe Johan would know more on the OPA team.
All right. Yeah, maybe we'll get them to come into one of the next office hours and just do a talk on the indexer.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, and then we have this is just a new built-in function, or no, fix to the to a current built-in function for the sprintf.
Yeah, that one ties into a couple issues around our numeric types, and when we fix those, sprintf will get the fixes as well. But yeah, that's kind of like the edgemost issue for what's going on there. Ooh,
what's this?
Ellipsis. Okay, this is actually a really cool one. I wasn't aware we had this on the table.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory though. Just expanding nonetheless. All right, yeah. Oh yeah, so these are on the roadmap, but never any guarantees on which version they go into.
Yeah, some of these features wind up like some will take an afternoon and some will take a good 3+ weeks, and it's sometimes hard to know before you get into the code base what it's going to be. So, yeah.
Cool. All right, so we got about 5 minutes left. So Philip H, I don't know if you have any specific questions that we can clarify for you. Happy to answer them.
I mean, I mainly came to listen in, but I mean, I guess I have one question. Just it kind of like something that came up fairly quickly when we started using Rego. Was I didn't understand fully like why there wasn't by default like a regex replace function inside of Rego. It seemed there's a whole bunch of matches, a whole bunch of things for matching, but there wasn't anything for replacing. And the reason I'm asking is like we were trying to write a we basically had a list of team memberships coming in, and in mixed case formatting and with you know, dashes and spaces, some kind of stuff in there, and we needed to transform it, which would have normally been fairly easy, into a different format, and I ended up accomplishing it through a whole bunch of like splitting and concatting and all kinds of different things. But like it kind of like the question really came up kind of fast for me, like, which is why, like, is there an actual reason for why there might not be a regex replace for strings?
So the actual reason is that, right, it is a community project, and so we build things as people request them. or like
Right.
someone thinks of it. And so you have just the first one to kind of surface that one. I think I remember Anders like our other teammate Anders coming in and talking about the request. It's like, oh, it's weird that no one has requested this before. Like,
Mm.
Yeah.
and so it's like until
Yeah.
someone puts it into like an actual GitHub ticket, right? Then
Yeah.
I mean, I
that's
can
kind
do
of the
that.
first step. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll write
Yeah.
out, I mean, I'll finish up the policy and then
Mhm.
maybe I'll put the policy into an issue and just say like, hey, if I could have done this, it would have been
Yeah.
potentially significantly easier on us, but more
Yeah, 'cause
readable as well.
Yeah, because once you file the ticket, we'll probably drop it in like the contributors channel, and someone like depending on like difficulty levels, like anything that's like in the low to like medium range, someone will just like grab and say, oh, this looks like a fun afternoon project from the community, and it'll get done.
Yeah.
When you ask for really hard things, that's when it sits there for a while.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
Yeah, there
But
was
yeah,
a guy that was asking about like LDAP support the other day, and I just looked at that and
Oh
thought,
God.
there's gonna go a good 2 weeks of my life if I sit
Yeah.
down to think about LDAP.
Yeah.
Yeah. So regex
Never again.
replace sounds like something that would be a lot easier to squeeze in to the next release. And so yeah, if you make an issue for that, that's very helpful for the OPA team because it shows one, that someone in the community actually needed this. And then two, becomes something that can be linked in on PRs and whatnot to help direct conversation around like what do we want to have several different built-ins in this space, and what should they look like? Can kind of start a conversation around something, because we've had several proposals that started as a GitHub issue where someone said, let's do thing A, and then by the time we're done, it's thing C, and winds up being better for it. So yeah, if you have the time this week, filing that issue would be an excellent starting point.
Yeah, I mean, I could do that. I mean, my Rego might not be the grandest, but it works at the moment. So
absolutely fine. Yeah, just it doesn't have to be perfect. Some issues that have started conversations that led to major changes in OPA sometimes had really terrible code at the start. So don't be too self-conscious about it.
No, I'm not, but I'm just warning you.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not the worst, but it's
yeah.
Okay. Anyways.
Cool.
All right.
And
Anything
with
else,
that,
Peter?
I think that's it. I think we're at time. Thank you, Philip and Philip. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys another time.
Yeah, thank you for having this.
All right.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye.